Hey everybody, Douglas Blair Roberts here, the Super Vader 400 here, back for another review. And this time, once again, two reviews. And this time, this is my review and rant on both of the Deadpool movies. That was the original Deadpool movie released 2 years ago in 2016, and of course the sequel that was released I think in May or April of this year. I can't remember the exact date at the moment, and I don't feel like interrupting this portion of the review to look it up. But yeah, it was released earlier this year. Um, currently right now I love both films, with the second film being the better of the two. The first film, which I saw back in 2016, was okay, but I remember not liking it when I first saw it back in 2016. I found the film bland. I found the film bland, terrible, stupid, and unfunny. The highlights of the film were the action and the all-star power cast, and and Ryan Reynolds nailing the character of Deadpool. But yeah, I thought the film was terrible, and actually one of the most overrated films of 2016, because the 2016 Deadpool film was one of the most popular films of 2016. The sequel follow-up, I was gonna review the 2016 Deadpool film as a setup to the 2018 film, but I didn't feel like watching it again. Now that I have I don't own the film on DVD, but now that the film is out on DVD and available for streaming on the internet, I can skip the parts of the 2016 film I don't like. So I like the film now. I remember hating it when it was released. The 2018 film was so much better. A larger cast of characters, and even more action and more recognizable names like Cable, the Juggernaut, and of course the X-Force. Jubilee, she was also in this film. This film was actually pretty good. While it was kind of terrible and kind of unfunny, just like the first one, this one had a larger cast, which made it better. I love how Josh Brolin, who is Thanos in the MCU, is Cable in this universe, and of course love their inclusion of Juggernaut, love their inclusion of Juggernaut. The only thing I didn't like about the film was the subplot was the fat kid in the fat kid in the film. But the part two portion of this review will be me reviewing and ranting on things, talking about things I didn't like about this film, about both of these movies. With that being said, let's get started right now. everybody? The Super Vader 400 here, Douglas Blair Roberts here, back for another review, and this is part two of both of my reviews of both of the Deadpool film. That's the original in 2016, and the sequel, which came out I think in May of this year. I can't remember the exact same date. I find both of these films to be somewhere between terrible and okay, with the sequel, of course, being better. First, I'm going to start off with the first Deadpool movie, then I'm going to get to the much better sequel. This review probably won't be as long because I don't really have much to say about these videos. Oh, and while I'm reviewing this video, I will be playing video games, which is a new thing that I've decided to add to my videos, that I have added to my videos while I do something else, while I sit here and record the rest of the video. With that being said, let's get started right now. As always, I'm going to start off with the film, the story, characters, and how much I like or hated the film and its faithfulness to the source material. Like I said, let's start off with Deadpool 2016. To tell you the truth, Deadpool. When I first saw Deadpool in 2016, I was immediately hyped. When I saw the trailers in 2015, I couldn't wait. Finally, Deadpool, who I was introduced to through the Marvel Alliance video games and the X-Men Wolverine Origins film, which inspired me to do which inspired me to do in-depth research on the character, and I fell in love with the Deadpool character after reading Deadpool's Dracula's Gauntlet, which is my favorite Deadpool story, where he teams up with the Punisher, Blade, Dracula, and many other characters to retrieve a specific item. A specific item. That's my favorite Deadpool storyline. I had high expectations for this film, and when this film came out, it lived up to almost none of them. It was one of the worst and most overrated films I've seen, and even though this film was one of the most popular films of 2016 and got positive reviews, every reason I hated the film for is most of the stuff critics criticized this film for, such as all of the terrible jokes, which most of them were either sex, masturbation jokes, or pop culture references, and lots of f bombs and profanity and screaming and yelling. All of that I just mentioned passes for comedy these days. The jokes, um, and and yeah, pretty much it. That was it. Actually, I liked everyone in the film but Deadpool himself. I love Ryan Reynolds in the role of Deadpool, but I hated him, but I hated his Deadpool character. I like the original Deadpool from Wolverine Origins better. I loved his Green Lantern. Ryan Reynolds actually surprised me in that movie. Um, I loved Hannibal King in Blade Trinity, where he played Deadpool, Wade Wilson, in that film too. Um, but yeah, my favorite things about this film were the action, and for the most part, while they changed a couple of things, the faithfulness to the comic books. Other minor gripes about this film would be the character of Colossus. I wish they would have got the guy from Last Stand, who was much better. Last Stand and X2, the original X-Men trilogy, to come back as Colossus, and I think they were trying to get him to come back, but they wanted to dub over his voice, so that was a problem there. I also didn't like them wasting MMA fighter Gina Carano, as first off, they took a character from the comic books, Angel Dust, a good guy, and just made her a stereotypical henchman villain here. I didn't like that, but everything else about the film was good, and I enjoy the film much better now that it's on DVD, because I can skip all of those parts I don't like. The love interest, I didn't like her either. She was probably the worst character in the film, alongside Deadpool um, Wade himself. Yeah, the plot was much better. That was also one of the more redeemable qualities of this film. The plot featured Wade Wilson hunting down hunting down Ajax, the guy who gave him his mutant abilities, and horribly disfigured Wade Wilson. And yeah, I also love the constant breaking of the fourth wall. That and Deadpool being an anti-hero and being preached about being a real hero by Colossus, and constantly doing the opposite of what a hero does, such as instead of sparing him and taking him in for arrest, killing the bad guy at the end. That's the only thing that I found. Those are the only things that I found remotely funny. The references to other films and other universes, and his rivalry and exchanges with Colossus. Other than that, um, highly overrated movie. This 2016, I love 2016 for movies, but that was considered a terrible year for films. The only two films that were considered good were this, Deadpool, and Captain America Civil War. Captain America Civil War and every other film I saw that year were way better than this movie. Um, than this movie right here. This movie right here. This movie is still better than other garbage like the Amazing Spider-Man trilogy, but still absolutely terrible, absolutely terrible, and hugely overrated. I'm so happy Cinema Sins ripped this movie a new butthole. Let's continue. Now, the second film was so much better than the first, but it had lots of the same stuff from the first film, such as, once again, more terrible sex, masturbation, and even worse this time, lots of poop and fart jokes. In this film, which is the only thing Ryan Reynolds seems to be good at and thinks is funny, because that's also in a lot of the comedy films I see him in. And of course, I was initially gonna see this when it came out because this one looked so much better. But two things I read on Wikipedia turned me off to this film: constantly taking shots at X-Men Wolverine's origins, which not only did I like, but 20th Century Fox, you knowingly made that movie. You knowingly made that movie, knowing it was not accurate, knowing people would get mad, and knowing actually the film was somewhat accurate to the Wolverine origins, but you made that film knowing people wouldn't like it, and you didn't care as long as you got your money. Now you're trying to come back later and say, "Oh, well, we messed up. That was bad. That was bad." And here is a brand new. Here's an even, my opinion, even crappier film that's gonna somehow make up for that movie. Right there. I hate it when 20th Century Fox does it. They intentionally make a bad movie or a terrible adaptation. In this case, a terrible adaptation. They do something the fans don't like in the film. When the film comes out and gets negative reception, they don't care as long as they got your money. They get your money first. Then they come back later and apologize for making this crappy adaptation when they knowingly created this adaptation knowing people would not like it. That is one thing I'm sick of, and why I decided to boycott this movie. They made fun of that movie, and they made fun of Green Lantern 2011, which I am a super fan of that film. I wish people stop giving this movie all the unneeded hate, all of the unneeded hate that it didn't deserve back in 2011. It still pisses me off that X-Men First Class, which I consider one of the worst comic book movies of all time, got a higher reception, and a higher and more money, made more money at the box office than this film right here. Than this film right here. I'll be talking about that film later. But let's continue with Deadpool 2. But some of the things I like, my favorite things about Deadpool 2, the saving graces from this film were, under all of the terrible jokes and pop culture reference and juvenile, bland, unfunny humor was Cable, the X Force, and the main antagonist of the film, Juggernaut. Juggernaut. Juggernaut film. Happy to see him return in the film. Love Juggernaut in this film. I wish the Last Stand Juggernaut would have returned, Vinny Jones, but that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And I think Juggernaut is uncredited in this film, but so I don't remember who played him, but he was awesome in this film. One of my saving graces from the film. One of my saving graces for the film. Problems I had with this film were the X Force team, which Terry Crews' team. Everyone except for the female character Domino were straight up wasted. They were just here to die. They were just here to die. Deadpool, I think, hires them to stop Cable and protect a little boy with flaming powers, a little fat boy with flaming powers who his story is the main plot of the film. Is the main plot of the film who Cable is trying to kill, But yeah, that's the only purpose of the X Force in this film was they were here to be expendable. The red shirt guy from Star Trek. Pretty much that's what their purpose was, and I did not like that, but they, Cable and Juggernaut were the same grace. I especially love the exchanges between Cable and Deadpool, where Cable kept putting Wade Wilson in his place, saying he is not a hero, he is a sex toy, something like that. But kept telling him he is not a hero, and that right there, I love. Of course, as always, the other saving grace for this film was the action. Under all the terrible, unfunny humor and mockery of other films, the action, man, the action, especially the final fight scene with Deadpool, Cable, um, Colossus, Teenage Megasonic Warhead, and Jubilee, Domino together fighting the Juggernaut, fighting the Juggernaut and defeating him in a hilarious fashion. Defeating him in a hilarious fashion was the saving grace from the film, and Juggernaut literally breaking Wade in half, literally breaking him in half. Who, like I said, Ryan Reynolds. I love him in the role of Deadpool, but he is annoying in these movies. He is annoying in these movies. So yeah, I didn't include this in my best movies of 2018 photos because I don't consider it as good as Ant-Man, Infinity War, The Predator, and of course the live-action Japanese adaptation Bleach. So yeah, but really okay movies. I'm a huge fan of Spill.com, now double toasted, hosted by Corey and Martin Thomas, Corey Coleman and Martin Thomas, and they usually, if you seen their websites, they give over the top ratings for movies, ranging from some old BS. Ranging from better than sex if it's a film that is super awesome and that pushes the boundaries of cinema. Only movie I've ever seen get this was The Dark Knight. Number two is Full Price, which is the usual which is the usual rating it gets if the movie is good. Pay full price for the film. Matinee, if it's good, but only viewed in the afternoon, which is cheap. Then of course rental. Rental if it's terrible but good enough to watch for free, good enough to rent or watch for free on the internet. Some old BS if the film is just terrible and has very little redeemable quality to it. And the most and the biggest rating, which was created with the 2008 disaster movie review, that is the FU of what they consider to be not only terrible but offensive and this film would be a very high rental for me. Both of these movies would be very high rentals, with I at least say the second one being a low matinee. High rental, low matinee is what both of these movies would would be. I think both of these movies are terrible and overrated, but they have several redeemable qualities to them, and at least they were somewhat faithful to their source material, unlike some other films that I know. But yeah. So well, like I said, I didn't talk long. I didn't even get to play my video game because I didn't have a lot to say about these movies. Well, this was my short spoiler filled version of Deadpool 2018. Now it's time to hit my music. His World by Crush 40.